Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast more cold and boring than baseball in January. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hi, everyone. I'm feeling warm and nice and friendly today, Nathan, so I resent your statement.
Hey, we actually set a new all-time high for temperature here in St. Louis yesterday.
Yeah?
So
We got like 4 inches of snow yesterday, so
nice.
Cool.
Wow, weather talk, everyone's favorite thing to open up a podcast. Well, on today's episode, we return to actual baseball to some degree, and we'll be talking about everyone's favorite, Lars Nootbaars. We're going to touch on the Cardinal broadcaster situation, and we're going to check in with news and notes from around the rest of the league. If you have an idea for the opening bit, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Well, Gorilla, we're back here with another episode. We made it through the New Year's. Welcome to 2023. Now, you famously known for hating all holidays, but New Year's Eve is it's a little different, right? How you feel about New Year's Eve? You gotta feel different about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are fine and dandy. I would also like to note that I'm a big Halloween celebrator. I like fireworks on 4th of July. I don't hate them all. It's just this. I don't know. Anyways, I had a great New Year's. Mary and I have a lovely tradition where we go to this, like, it's one of those restaurants that you go to once a year and you still are like, you get the check and you're like, what? Oh my God. This was a stupid amount of money, but we
$20. Jack in the Box is getting expensive these days.
You get the check and you get to say, what is this? A phone number? And everyone likes that. But yeah, we do this thing where it's like we get a late reservation, it's coursed out, champagne comes at midnight, it's all lovely. And I get to spend time with my beautiful wife. And that's I could do, I mean, holidays be damned, I could do that all the time. So it was great. I'm pro New Year. I guess I am now, like, if I have to like think about it for more than a second, like I am kind of a grouch about the like turning of the page aspect of it, because I kind of think like if you want to make a change, just go make the change. It doesn't need to be on some arbitrary date, but that's just me digging the well for being a curmudgeon around a day that everyone likes.
Yeah, I used to be the same. I used to think like New Year's resolutions are dumb, and like you can, if like you said, like if you want to make a change, maybe some arbitrary endpoint is not a real way to make fundamental change in your life. That said, a lot of people really benefit from those sorts of things, and
That's
so
true.
trying to not yuck other people's yum or really cast down on someone who's trying to actually make a change in their life by calling their goals arbitrary and dumb. So I've tried to be better about that because I have felt the same way.
Yeah, no, I could probably lead with empathy a little bit more on this, but no, it's not. The goals are not arbitrary and dumb. The date is arbitrary and dumb.
Yeah.
But if you need that kick in the pants to eat more cheeseburgers in 2023, or I don't know, play more video games, then do it. I encourage you to make those changes.
It's good to hear you making real life-changing goals, though, like that. Eat more cheeseburgers, play more video games.
What I want to do is, rather than sometimes getting a single cheeseburger, is I want to go double every time, and maybe even go triple if I'm going to In-N-Out or something like that. Go for the triple stack.
Yeah.
I need to grab life by the horns. I don't want to wake up in 50 years and say, I should have
eaten more cheeseburgers. Yeah. Wake up in 50 years and think, man, I could have only made it 45 years more if I'd eaten more.
Why am I still here?
Yeah. Hashtag squad goals.
God.
we rang in the new
Ugh.
year with a thing that we don't do
Oh, yeah.
every
How was
year.
your New Year, Nate? How was
I
yours?
was going to. You don't need to ask me. I'm going to it
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay.
We've started. We've done something that we've done several years. We don't do it every year, but it is one of my favorite things. We watched a Bollywood film called Happy New Year that started from like 6 or 7 years ago. We were having people over for New Year's. This is a small get together, and we started talking like there are no good New Year's movies. Like there's a lot of holidays have a ton of movies
Yeah.
attached to them, and you would think for such a celebratory holiday that it doesn't really have like a movie culture around it. And so at least we couldn't think of any at the moment. I'm sure with some research and some more thought, or maybe even just in the time that has gone past, there's more of them. But at the time we couldn't think of any. So we opened up Netflix and we just typed in Happy New Year or
Yeah.
New Year or something like that.
Sure.
And a 3-hour Bollywood film came up called Happy New Year, and we decided we'll just put it on. We'll see. And it has led to now like over 5 years of fandom of Bollywood, all started from this movie that is absurd. I love it. It is about a group of people who, in order to get back at someone who framed their father, they decide to rob this person of their priceless diamonds. But in order to do that, they have to enter into a dance competition. Uh, and
Sure.
it's great. It's a heist movie mixed with like a weird comedy sports film. I should say, I think probably objectively it's pretty bad, but it is a really fun movie that I highly recommend. And if you've not really watched much Bollywood stuff, I definitely recommend it. There's a joy and um ridiculousness to Bollywood films that you don't really get in anything that is like made in the West. So definitely recommend it. And we watched it, and it was a lot of fun. Molly set up a scene. There's a particularly dramatic scene that she like prescribed, figured out exactly at midnight when this thing would like happen, so it happened right at midnight, and she nailed it, and it was really dumb and awesome. So
All
yeah, it
right.
was fun. It was a pretty chill New Year's Eve.
Sure.
Got to participate in my favorite of St. Louis traditions, which is hearing people just firing weapons into the sky for like an hour straight, which is not actually funny and not really a joke. People should not do that. But it happens in and around us, which is
People's
frustrating.
inability to understand gravity on the most basic level is insane to me. Also, like, we probably shouldn't soapbox this, but like, you're probably hammered, at the least
Yeah.
inebriated, and you're in a highly densely populated area. So yeah, I don't like that. I also feel so bad for the puppies and kitties who are too stupid to
Yeah.
understand what's going on. Yeah, I
Wow.
hate that.
Big insult to puppies and kitties too. I think mine know exactly what's going on. Thank you very
Sure,
much.
smart.
But yeah, so we are going to try to actually talk about a little bit more baseball this week. We had a ton of fun talking about Battlefield baseball last week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If not, well, I guess sorry, but we're probably going to do it every year. That movie is fantastic. And
Yeah,
if you haven't, if you missed the episode, or only listen to part of it, like definitely go and watch the movie. Then hopefully listen to us talk about it because it was a ton of fun. But we're gonna try to do some more standard programming this week. We've got a few things to talk about. I know Ben, you caught on to it too. There's been a lot of Nootbaar talk this
Noot,
off
Noot,
season.
Noot.
So how do you want to go about this?
Yeah, I kind of have two things that I want to talk about with Lars Nootbaar, and the first is just I was thinking about this over the last week, and I don't know if I've ever seen a player have more like he I don't know how to explain this. Like he was definitely getting a little bit of attention towards the end of last year. Like he did some hits on MLB TV and was just, I don't know. I feel like he was just kind of around a little bit more last year than maybe you would expect him to. And then as this offseason has gone on, it's like the mythos and the production of Lars Nootbaars, he's like gaining popularity and perceived value while not playing baseball at all. And people are just kind of looking into what he did and kind of where he came from, by which I mean like out of nowhere. Um, so that was my first kind of thought. It just how crazy it is, or can you even remember a player who's had this productive of an offseason? While I mean, we're not even watching him play. We're just like looking at his baseball savant page, looking at his fan graphs page, looking at his projections, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, the Cardinals might really have something here."
Yeah. So I think no, I can't think of a time that this has happened as much with a Cardinal player. I think so. As someone who plays a lot of dynasty fantasy baseball, this is actually kind of frequent where the last 2 months or so of baseball, it's so chaotic as far as what everyone's looking at is the standings and like the MVP race and the really the high end of the sport is really what's on like
Sure.
showcase in the last couple months of baseball. And then once all the dust settles, you have people going around and starting to investigate like what were the other people doing in the last couple months? What are those pop-up players who came up maybe in mid-season or even in September and were doing something that no one really noticed? And for fantasy baseball purposes, it's like, what are your buy low? What are your upcoming stars
Sure.
opportunities for 2023 that like maybe went under the radar in 2022? And then everyone talks about them, and then all of a sudden they're like, hot numbers in fantasy baseball the next year because of all the articles, which is exactly what I think is happening to
Yeah.
Lars Nootbaars right now. We just haven't seen it happen to a Cardinal player. I
Yeah.
can't really remember the last time. And you're right. Like Lars is all over the place right now, a lot because of Driveline, which we're going to talk about. Like anybody who goes through them, people talk about.
Yeah.
But really, all the stuff that we've been talking about, Nootbaars, really all off season and and really as the season was coming to an end, which is those fantastic statcast numbers and the baseball savant profile.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like I think probably everyone listening knows this, but like just to I think it bears repeating, like the idea of like the thing that gets everyone so excited about the statcast numbers is because they are what they are, right? Like you can't fake exit velocity, you can't fake the things that are listed on those numbers. Those are true talent indicators, which gets everyone excited. Like results be damned. You can say, absolutely that he is hitting the hell out of the ball and has a good arm and these kinds of things. So I think that's like it's reasonable, right? It's not there's something to it, I guess, is what I mean to say.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Um,
it's what we all sort of, I think the current game is modeled around is recognizing and understanding these underlying stats and not necessarily letting a small sample size in either direction
yeah,
overly influence your decision making. Now, I think what happens sometimes though is that it does sort of flatten the numbers and make you think that like Lars Nootbaars was always hitting the ball at this
yeah,
average velocity when that's not really the case. If we really remember the season that Nootbaars had, it's more like for 1 month he was absolutely hitting the shit out of the ball, whereas EV was through the roof and he was hitting the ball as hard as guys like Judge and Stanton. And then there was another month where he was hitting the ball, like I don't know, Yadier Molina, and it has averaged out to
wow,
a good to a really good EV, but like it does make me wonder what is the actual um is Newt going to be this high boom, high bust guy who carries the offense sometimes like he did for a month, or is he going to level out? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think what it always comes down to is the fact that he proved that he can do it. It is in there, which is that's what everyone gets so excited about. The consistency is obviously like that's why Albert Pujols is Albert Pujols, and other players are other players who aren't worth mentioning. But so you kind of mentioned it. The Driveline thing was really interesting, and this has kind of come back up in the news because he is now back at Driveline. He was Driveline put a video of him at their facility on January 2nd. And I kind of wanted to slow down and talk about this whole little experiment with Lars Nootbaar. And I guess also I'll add, if you're not familiar with Driveline, all you really need to know is it's kind of like a very specific high-tech baseball academy that is fully independent of Major League Baseball. College players go there, pros go there. I mean, really, you could go there if you wanted to. You just got to pay the money. But when they have Major League Baseball players in, I imagine it's pro bono, or at the very least, they're like, we just want to show, we want to advertise as much as possible that we have pro players in here. So I'll link to this article. It's an article from Driveline. Actually, I'll link to it on the Twitter when this show comes out. So I highly recommend that you read it. Pretty interesting, very nerdy, in the weeds. So I'm going to try to like summate it as much as possible. But really what it talks about is that in April, it was in the middle of the summer during the All-Star break. Lars was not happy with how his season was going, and rather than like drinking margaritas, he went to Driveline, and they found that his bat speed was in between 66 and 69 miles per hour.
Nice.
Nice.
Margaritas is usually how I go about solving my problems, so maybe I could learn a lesson or two here from Nootbaar.
I don't think you should look into it that deeply. I think you're
a good
doing
point.
just fine.
I take it back.
Yeah, you're
never mind.
How can you perfect upon whatever you are presenting as?
Tequila.
So 66 to 69 miles per hour on the bat speed. Nate really liked that one. Is below average. Okay. Are we in okay, cool.
Yes.
So what is interesting is that 1 mile per hour of bat speed equals 1.2 miles per hour of exit velocity. And that totals to about 7 feet of distance. So every mile per hour of swing velocity you add 7 feet to how far your ball is going. In the first trip that Lars took to Driveline, he added 8 miles per hour of bat speed, which, with a little arithmetic, that's about 50.
Carry the zero.
It's about 56 feet of extra distance, which I think, when you're what's the porch, the left field porch in Bush is somewhere around 340-ish. So you're going from hitting a ball
346, something like that.
Yeah, you're going from hitting a ball from the middle of the outfield, like basically right where the outfielder is standing, to over the wall, if not well over the wall. So that's huge, right? That's
right.
like a real measurable game changing thing. Now, obviously, he still has to hit the ball, like he still has to square it up. You can't just go up there and swing your face off. But I think there were times when he proved that he was able to do that, right? Like you were just talking about, like it wasn't all there all year, but we saw flashes of it.
That's the problem with bat speed, of course, comes the higher propensity for swing and miss. You're swinging harder, little less control. Bat speed is not the end all be all key to success. We saw that. I think about was it 4 or 5 years ago, the Cardinals like seemed to prioritize bat speed in the draft, and like none of those guys made it to the majors. Like was Nick Plummer. I know he is now with the Nationals, and maybe there's some like post hype with him, but some of these guys that are all bat speed, it's not a direct path to success, but it is obviously, if you compare it with other things, good eye, good control, understanding of the strike zone, etc. Yeah, I mean it can be a significant improvement.
Yeah.
that math
Yeah.
alone, adding 50 feet to your average, that's huge.
Which is insane. I know, like, just and it makes sense of why you would go. Like, I think when you hear, oh, he increases bat speed by 8 miles per hour or whatever, you're like, oh, okay, cool. But then you think about that, and over the terms of a season, that could make you a 20 home run guy to a 35 home run guy, or a 40 home run guy. Who knows? It's all about the other things too. And if you're curious, like how he just found 8 miles per hour in his bat speed. It is well documented in that article that I said I'll link to. But essentially, what he was kind of just going up there like a brute, and I'm trying to demonstrate it on video, but on the
Looks
podcast, I
good.
guess, kind of just like brooding his way through the swing. And what they did is he's a young, very strong person, so they usually like elasticity of his core, and kind of like you there's this idea in sports called separation. I don't know why I'm explaining this. It's a golf thing, it's a baseball thing, but essentially you're separating your shoulders from your core, and you can use the elasticity of your muscles to produce more exit velocity. Long story short, he tapped into that, found more for exit velo. And why this is kind of, we talked about this already, but January 2nd, he was in Driveline, and I presume he's still there. And Driveline posted a video of him. He has already added a couple more miles per hour to his swing, which puts him at about 10 miles. And he set a personal record for exit velocity at Driveline a couple of days ago. The video's on Twitter. I'm sure it's been shared around like crazy. So now we're looking at, I don't know, what's 56. We're looking at in the mid 60s of extra potential distance if everything goes the way it's supposed to
Sure.
go. And I guess like the reason I wanted to bring this up is like all this hype is happening. Lars is having a great off season. He's getting better. Um, I don't know. I think we have a lot to be excited about Lars Nootbaar next year, and I would not be surprised if he is one of the main drivers of the offense going into 23.
Yeah, and again, we did see flashes of it last year. Remember, it was like right before the Pujols explosion really started to click in. For a while, the story of the Cardinals offense was, as always, Goldie and Arenado, as it was basically the whole season. But for a little while, it was Nootbaar, Goldie, and Arenado were the real stories of the offseason. And then Nootbaar started to taper off near the back half or through September, just like Goldie did, whereas Arenado and Pujols kept crushing or really picked
Yeah.
it up. So yeah, I mean, I kind of see this as he's probably going into the season as the starting right fielder. I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
talk about Walker and Walker breaking camp with the team, which is incredibly exciting, and I think we are all for it. But I think even if he does, he's probably not breaking as like a starting outfielder. I would assume he's breaking as a platoon DH and spot starter in the outfield, with
Yeah.
Nootbaar assuming the starting role, assuming performance.
Yeah. And I think all this good stuff is good, right? But I
Good
think
stuff is good.
it's probably bad news for somebody like Dylan Carlson. Um, like this to me, or I guess what I'm trying to say is the scenario in which we see like Jordan Walker or Tyler O'Neill in center field, and Walker and Nootbaar manning the corners, and Dylan Carlson being more of a bench guy. Like this is kind of the pathway that I'm seeing, assuming what we just said is all true, and the Cardinals have some good luck, and Walker is able to hit at an extremely young age in Major League Baseball,
Right.
which is, as we've discussed like 1,000 times, highly unlikely, right? Like
Yeah.
for these kids to come up and hit the way that some of them do is more of a miracle than anything else.
Right.
But it doesn't seem that far fetched where we're sitting right now in the cold winter months, looking over numbers of the past.
Yeah. I guess I see your point. I am still very hopeful on Carlson. I still see him as the starting center fielder. But obviously the path to greatly reduced playing time for him is pretty clear. But it's gonna
Yeah.
come on the back of other people performing well and basically out hitting him, I don't think he loses the job without him also not hitting well and also someone else pushing themselves into the lineup above and beyond
Yeah.
him. Because I think all of us like him as the defensive center fielder above everyone else. I mean, I know
Yeah.
O'Neill it plays a good center field. Apparently, suddenly, of course, Jordan Walker might be an option at center
Yeah.
field, which is
That's
wild.
just
But I
throwing
think,
youth at the problem right there, which works.
yeah, yeah, which is cool. I love the versatility, but I think I'd rather take uh, Carlson there, O'Neill in left, and then whoever's hitting the best is in right field, which is
Yeah.
probably Nootbaars. But there's going to be injuries.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. It works its way out. It's works itself out one way or another. There's obviously the
Yeah.
Burleson side of it too, which we he's getting a little bit of hype as well for there's a much smaller sample size, but same sort of thing as Nootbaars is that like don't look too much at the results, look at the underlying numbers, look especially at Burleson's last 50 at bats or so, which is of course an incredibly small sample size, but that's all we have and he's a very young player.
Yeah.
So there's some good stuff underlying there as well.
Yeah.
I think between this is the offseason. This is when we as fans are the most optimistic. But I think, especially considering the addition of Wilson Contreras, like the Cardinals are set up to have uh, possibly once again one of the best offenses in baseball. Definitely in
Well,
the NL, top four, I think in NL, like pretty easily. Assuming health, but then across all of baseball, if some of these things really click.
yeah, I think, and we've talked about this as well, but Arenado and Goldschmidt are going to regress to some degree. And
Right.
that added production should come from the outfield. It kind of has to, based on the
Yeah.
weird, wonky year that was last year in the outfield production. But no, I think you'd put the button on Nootbaar. I also want to point out he has a 13.6 walk rate in his major league time over 166 games. So,
Great.
like, he might become this walks a lot, hits some bombs, great outfielder type player that is super duper valuable, like a little three true outcomes, but that's okay because
Yeah.
that adds a ton of value and we like his glove. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I think really, really important year for Dylan Carlson. Like the Cardinals give their guys a long leash, especially when they're their guys, and I think Dylan Carlson has that their guys little tag on him, kind of like Paul DeYoung. I'm not comparing the players any more than they are just kind of like organizational favorites, or at least it appears that they are from the outside. But yeah, I think it's an important year for him, and I would love there is a world where Carlson is a 2020 Gold Glove center fielder, and we're all jumping for joy, and
Yeah.
that's a ton of fun. And then we have to decide which matchups and mashers we want to be playing in the outfield at any given time, which is also a great place to be. But yeah, we'll see. The Burleson thing, I love Burleson. I'm very excited for him. He Of all of the guys that I want to see, I don't see where his at bats are going to be coming from next year. Um, I mean, like you said, the health will kind of help figure everything out. But in lieu of that, it is kind of hard to see. Like, I guess he'll be getting some starts at first. It's hard to see him getting starts at DH, but I'm sure that will happen. And then obviously the outfield corners, but weird
Yeah.
path for him for sure.
Part of it will depend on how Gorman does, I think, too, for that DH spot. And if I don't know, I mean, he started getting at bats last year,
Yeah.
and there's not a fundamental change to the offense other than Contreras, obviously, and that has no impact on this. And there's no Corey Dickerson, which is truly a tragedy, if you ask me. So, like a similar path, an injury or two, and ineffectiveness. Part of it was Noot was slowing down a little bit. and so Burleson was getting starts.
Yeah. Don't
But
forget
yeah,
that Corey Dickerson played 97 games for the Cardinals last year. Like, they're always at bats. It
I
just
will never
like
forget.
sitting here
Hashtag never forget.
on Jan 5 thinking about it. It's like, well, how is that going to fit in? But no, it always does.
Yeah.
We figure it
Or
out.
I still think there's some um, Mozeliak machinations going on in the back end. I'm
Man,
expecting one trade. I'm expecting one trade this offseason at this point. Like, I still think there's going to be. We've got 2 months left. We got 44 days from today
yeah,
until pitchers and catchers report. I'm
thank God.
expecting one extension. Now, who? I don't know. But I'm thinking one extension and one trade is what happens in the next month and a half.
Okay. I'll make a bold prediction right here, Nate. Put
Yeah.
it in stone.
Okay. Hold
Man, I
on.
was hoping I was going to say
Hold
something
on.
cooler.
All right. I've got my chisel and my
Yeah.
block of it's a soft stone. We'll say
God.
it's a sandstone.
Okay. Tommy
Okay.
Edman gets extended before spring training.
Okay.
No
I need
trades
45
happen.
minutes to carve this. Okay. No trades. Tommy Edman gets extended.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. More and more, I don't think, and I think the Cardinals could use a starting pitcher. More and more, I think that they're just going to say one of the kids is going to rise. And maybe Jack Flaherty is one of those kids, even though he's like 28 now. But I think that they're going to bet on Libby, Graceffo, and Thompson, or somebody else who I'm not
Jerpy.
picking up right. Jerpy, maybe. But yeah, I'm very, I don't know. I kind of think that they're just going to let the dice roll on the kids, which I don't like that move, but it just feels that way. I think that they're in love with their prospects, which is fine. Um, and I think we're gonna go into the season like this. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, history would be on your side in this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've had 2 years in a row now of going into the season with shaky starting pitching, it falling apart and being patched together in the trade deadline, and kind of working for that one specific problem. And
Yeah.
maybe they just like that. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. It's not the worst strategy because we're in a weak division, so that makes everything a lot easier, right? But
Yeah.
you are just always going to pay more. Like, you're going to pay $1.50 on the value, or per dollar, mid season than you would off season. And
Yeah.
man, we've talked
And
about Pablo Lopez a lot. It just makes so much
yeah.
sense for all of the reasons. But yeah,
You're also, besides cost, you're likely paying a month or so of good baseball. I mean, that's what happened
yeah,
in 2022, right? Like, the Cardinals were really bad for like a month and a half because the starting pitching collapsed. And I'm not going to say they would have gotten one of the buys if they had acquired, if we had good starting pitching all season, because obviously the Braves and Dodgers winning,
yeah,
over 100 games or whatever. But like, you're costing that. Like, if it happens again, you really can't have a month of bad baseball or even
yeah,
mediocre baseball right now to get one of those two buys. You pretty much have to be good end to end. And so if you're thinking we'll fix it in post, then you're also saying, like, the Cardinals are a conservative group, and also trades just don't usually happen in like May and
yeah.
June. So even if you say like, I want to fix it, it's probably not going to happen until July, and then you very likely are out of the
Yeah.
running for one of the buy positions, which is very valuable.
And the Cardinals won 93 games last year. If they had Montgomery and Quintana from the jump, like, we're probably, I mean, everything, just adding those two guys to the team for the whole year, obviously all other things could happen. But you probably put them in the high 90s, and that's, it's not a 101, it's not 10, or I guess the Mets and Atlanta both had 101 wins, but you're playing those teams and the
Yeah.
Dodgers and the Padres and the Brewers with more in the tank, and those teams maybe aren't getting to the heights that they got because the Cardinals were a more effective team. I mean, there was that series when the Cardinals went into Philly last year and just got their asses handed to them. There was one blowout.
Yeah.
I think it was a 4-game set. Cardinals blew them out once and then just got spanked all 3 other games. So yeah, there are just little situations like that who knows what it could have done, but it definitely would have helped the team, and it definitely would have made that month and a half of baseball right in the middle less miserable.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I want Pablo Lopez to happen. I'm just, yeah, obviously I asked you to write those predictions in stone, and I'm not, I don't think we should waste good, valuable stone on a prediction I don't really fully believe in.
I got a whole quarry back here.
Okay.
So we're good on that. But thanks for your concern on my stone supply.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Let's talk about something else.
So we haven't talked about this at all really on this show, mostly because I don't think we've had a ton to add to the conversation. But at this point, I think we want to talk about it a little bit. Obviously, one of the bigger stories over this offseason has been what has happened with Dan McLaughlin. Um, I think both of us huge affection for him.
Yeah.
I fantastic broadcaster, obviously struggling, and we wish him well. It's sad, first on the human level, and then like 4 steps down, it's sad for Cardinal fans, because he was a great broadcaster and he's been the voice of the Cardinals for a long time. But we are now in a new reality, and the Cardinals need a new broadcaster. So we thought we'd talk about that a little bit. I will say, like, for me, I was kind of in the camp of like I would have loved to see Bob Costas come for a year
Yeah.
and do something like, let's get one of these guys that there's a handful of actually very famous broadcasters that have deep St. Louis ties, and I love Bob Costas. A lot of people find him, um, I don't know. I
Dry.
really like, yeah.
Yeah.
I particularly, it's like he's one of my favorite
I,
broadcasters, if
I,
not my favorite. I'm a huge fan.
his depth of
Um,
knowledge and his ability to tell stories is fantastic. I think some people are turned off by he's a bit dry, and he's got that kind of Dennis Eckersley thing in him where he's just going to say it like he sees it. And if he thinks that you guys are bad, he's going to call you bad. And if the ump made a bad call, he's going to call it a bad call. Like, if you look up some of his calls from the Olympics and baseball over the past, like, he will just straight up dress down an athlete if he thinks what they're doing is not up to par. And I think I enjoy that. I think you enjoy that. Like, we're all
yeah.
seeing it. We're not stupid. Like, this is all for entertainment. We can judge.
So that is true, and there's some very funny videos out there of him like seemingly roasting a child for being sad
Yeah.
like their dad struck out or whatever.
Yeah.
And that actually is not like, that is a part of him that I think is funny and is like a fair criticism. But I think he has a really, really good depth of understanding of like the history of the game and putting things into perspective of the moment that it's happening and connecting the dots between current moments and the broader historical impact of baseball and sports in general. And that's the stuff that I really like. So I would have loved to
Yeah.
have seen him like do another year with the Cardinals and use it as a stopgap so the Cardinals don't rush to replace such a critical role with a little bit of time. But him, Joe Buck, Greg Amsinger, a bunch of these guys that have
Yeah.
connections or experiences with St. Louis have all turned it down, and that's fair. They're all doing more national things. It would have really had to have been like a passion choice rather than like a career choice. And they all
I
made,
think that I think Joe Buck is, when he gets close to like retirement age or something, I would not be surprised if he wants to
yeah,
not do the national thing and does a couple of seasons with the Cardinals, because I think he would like to do that. I think that Cardinals fans would like that. I think, for his father, all the legacy reasons and all that. I think it will
yeah.
happen. It's just not right now.
Yeah, why do it now? Truthfully, why do it now? He's one of the biggest broadcasters on earth, if not like
Yeah.
the biggest, right?
Yeah.
So he does not need a daily job that has him traveling as much. He can just
Yeah.
do football once a week or whatever he does. So anyway, all those are out. So we're looking at like either someone from within or like someone transferring from another broadcast booth back to St. Louis. I'm not really sure where this is gonna go. I don't know, Ben. What are you hoping for, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I actually do think of all those names, I think Greg Amsinger would be a lot of fun. So I'm a little sad that
Yeah,
he's not coming. I think he's great. He's got a relationship with the players that is really great. MLB TV can be dribble sometimes, but he's one of the good spots of it. And he does
yeah,
radio hits on St. Louis radio all the time, and his passion and I don't know, just the way that he talks about his relationship with like Arenado and Goldschmidt and stuff like that are really
yeah,
fun. But yeah, there was a great article by Dan Caesar in the Post Dispatch that I read. I'm sure most of you read that came out, I think last week or so. And it was kind of listing who the potential names are, who might make sense. And I did want to pull out Aaron Goldsmith, who I thought was a really interesting name that was a part of it. He is from St. Louis. I think he's like 39 or 40, so relatively young. And he's been a broadcaster for the Mariners for the past 10 seasons. And I watch a lot of Mariners games because I just watch a lot of baseball games. So that's a whole other thing. But
they're a
I
fun
end up,
team though. Yeah,
they're a
I
fun
watched a fair
team.
amount. Yeah,
I watch a lot of West Coast games because I'm a late night person and I live in Denver. So, those games start at 8 for me. So I'll just flip them on when the Cardinals game is over or something like that. Anyways, I think that he's really good. I think that he has the booming voice. I think he is very, very locked in to what's going on. And I think more than anything understands the moment really, really well. Which is really, I think, all that I want. I want somebody who I
yeah,
can listen to, somebody who I can be excited with. I don't really need much else than that. And I guess what I will say is that what I hate in a broadcaster is, and Chip Carey is the first one that comes to mind for me. He's the play-by-play for the guy for the Braves, and if you watch a lot of Braves baseball, I think that he is good at celebrating the moment. But all he does every single game is talk about what's wrong with the modern game. And honestly, the Cardinals or Bally, whatever, I don't care who they sign as long as it's not somebody who's complaining about where modern baseball is. I just want them celebrating the Cardinals, celebrating the game that's in front of them, being there for the moment. And I do think everyone's favorite broadcaster is Vin Scully, right? And that's because of his reference for the game and not only is how much he loves baseball, but his ability to call back from when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn and tell you a story about Jackie Robinson. Like, I think that, if I
well, the
could,
War of 1812 had just started,
yeah,
and
yeah, like, I mean, that's why he was the best. And I think if we can get somebody who's a fraction of that, and Vin was also somebody who never spoke ill about the modern game. He would talk about how it's changed, but not,
sure.
they don't baseball right or whatever. And I just hate that. I honestly think anyone who's doing that on a nightly basis should be ripped out of their chair. It is
Yeah,
their boots
100%
on the
agree.
ground and they're like actively undercutting the game that you're watching. It drives me
Yeah.
insane. Chip Carey is bad at his job, and he's only there because of his dad or his grandpa or whatever his relationship is with Harry Carey.
Well, we're all here because of our grandpas. What can we?
Well, yes, that's a very good point. So I'll retract
Yeah.
that.
Um. Yeah. No. I that is a deeply frustrating thing when people complain about advanced metrics, sabermetrics, or whatever. Um. It drives me crazy too. I think there's you can be rightfully um like critical of the overuse of some advanced metrics, but like just railing against them drive me crazy. And so I generally agree with you. I think like the things that I loved about Danny Mac that I hope that they find someone who's even in the um range of him is uh that ability to both call a moment and also let the moment happen.
Yeah,
Do your call and then let it sit for a minute. um some of this is the same with Vince Scully. Some of the most famous Vince Scully calls of all time, if you actually watch them, they are preceded by like often minutes of silence as what's happening on the field happens, and I think that's great. And then personally, I really appreciate the dry sense of humor and ability to directly insult his co-workers in the broadcast booth, because we have a bunch of ding dongs that are the supporting cast in Jim Edmonds and Al Raboski and all these guys, so hopefully someone who's comfortable enough in that room to like call them out when Jim Edmonds talks about his text messages for the 35th time, or whatever it may be, that would be the ideal. But I could recognize that probably someone who's new might take a little while before they can get to that point.
I agree. And I think, I don't mean to kick a man while he's down. I will say I don't love Danny Mac's home run calls. Sometimes they come off really cheesy, although I think he's there in the moment and celebrating that in a way that works for me. I really, really don't like Grand Slamma. I don't know why.
Just that specifically.
Grand Slamma. I don't know why. That just rubs me the wrong way. So I guess I'm looking forward to not having to hear that
just
anymore.
That's really 4 times a year when a grand slam is hit and he says Grand Slamma.
I just don't like it. I would even prefer Grand Salami more, even though I think that might be worse. But I was just trying to think of anything I don't like about Danny Mac. But no, I agree with you. It's going to be sad, and I think what is also like the X factor for me that Danny Mac has that very few other broadcasters have is that the guy's memory is like he can remember at bats from 20 years ago and can tell stories about them and where he was and conversations that he had with Tony La Russa and Albert Pujols and all those things when he was coming up. And I'm going to miss those quite a bit too, just because kind of, we've talked about, he's been basically the voice of the Cardinals since you and I have been like online real people. So his memories are memories that we share, and they're all kind of wrapped in together. And there's some sentimentality that I'm just going to miss that he brought, I think, really well.
Yeah. So I think we'll see, like, this is actually one of the changes going into 2023 that will more directly impact fans than like almost anything else that the Cardinals can do.
It's every game. Every game interaction. Yeah, I know. It's important.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll end this with, some more love to Dan McLaughlin and his family. It's a lot. Addiction is real. So hopefully,
I don't think it's out of maybe he figures it out and he comes back at some point. Maybe it's a while from now. It depends on many factors, but I hope he gets another chance. I hope he can figure it out.
They've done that. That's already happened once, right? I mean, this is his second time. I know it's his third time in the real world, but with the Cardinals, at least once he was let go through this or put on leave, and it came back a little while later. Seems unlikely if that they would do that again, but I don't know. He obviously needs to find more real change, but we're so far from it. I don't want to make any statements about him and his personal struggles. So we just hope that he gets better. So okay, we're going to we still have some stuff to talk about, Cardinals and news around the league. But before we do that, if you love the sound of me stammering and saying straight into a microphone, and want to support it and find more and create more,
tell them, Nate. Get them.
Consider supporting us on Patreon. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Supporters at any level not only contribute directly to us and the growth of the show, also get access to the Bird Scored. It is our private Discord server where we're talking about baseball and other things all of the time. Get in there. We're having a ton of fun. Offseason might be dark and cold, but it's great in there. We'd love to have you. That's patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And you also, it's helpful if you leave a nice review on whatever your favorite podcast platform is. If you're not following us online, I think Ben might be able to tell you where you could.
Oh, yes, I can. Yeah,
Wow.
also get on that Patreon. I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle that I don't want to pull back from. So can't keep subbing.
New Year's
um,
Eve parties, tequila. I mean,
Tequila.
you've got Stone, we've got all sorts of things that you need.
Is tequila your 2023 catchphrase? Is that what you're pushing forward now?
We're getting there. It might
Yeah.
be.
Wow. I could feel it. Everyone's freaking out about it. Everyone's loving it.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds. You can follow us on Instagram at Talking About Birds. You can email us questions, thoughts, musings, ideas, threats to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. Also, want to point out that we are on Spotify. So if you prefer to listen to us on Spotify, you can check us out there. I recommend adding us episodes of our podcast to any workout playlist that you might have or a party playlist. Just, up those numbers, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, we do a lot of like shared collaborative playlists with our group of friends. So if you're out there doing the same with your group of friends, go ahead and throw an episode of Tab on there. It's great, after like a Megan Thee Stallion song, you've got me coming in hot with a bad joke. People love it.
Uh,
Hit that little
uh.
hit that hit that little follow button on Spotify. So
Hell yeah.
yeah. All right. Few more cardinal notes. Ben, what do you want to start with here?
Yeah, so this was just something I was thinking about that I thought was worthy you and I chatting about in the doldrums of the offseason. The Cardinals are doing City Connect jerseys this year. I was curious if you have any thoughts or suggestions on what you would like to see. And I can give you a moment. I'd be happy to take this because I've thought about this for you to think about it for a moment. I really want to see a fleur de lis, and I really
Uh-huh.
want to see. I think the St. Louis flag with the two rivers becoming one needs to be a part of it. What I really don't want to see is like a hyper modernized version of the arch, kind of like on the sleeve or something, and very little else. But I want to see them go a little bit old school. I kind of wish Budweiser could be a part of it, although I don't think that that's going to happen. But Budweiser, I mean, it's not really St. Louis anymore, but the history of the team and it being such a part of St. Louis, I do think would be fun. Maybe the Eagle could be a part of it. I don't know. But those are kind of my initial thoughts. I'll tell you, I'm very, very excited to see them, especially with like, I think the Angels City Connect jerseys were awesome. The Red Sox City Connect jerseys were really, really cool. I hated the Cubs City Connect jerseys. I
Yeah.
hated the Rockies City Connect jerseys. So I'm obviously we're going to have a lot of hot takes. I'm very curious. I hope that they're good enough for me to want to buy one, but I don't know, just kind of thinking about that and excited to see them.
Well, as a fellow vexillophile, I am also hopeful that the St. Louis flag is featured predominantly. We have a
Is a
wonderful.
vexillophile somebody who loves flags?
That's right.
I would like to say that I do not consider myself a vexillophile.
I
Don't
think
put me on that.
I'm an okay. Well, then, as the sole vexillophile on the show,
I'm a
um,
vexillophiliac. Or wait, no. I'm
oh,
vexil I'm vexil
get away
I'm
from my
vexil
flag.
I'm vexillophobic. Is that it?
Oh wait, yeah,
If I'm afraid of them, I'm afraid of
yeah,
flags. Okay,
okay.
nailed it.
Um, all right. So I kind of
That
have a
was
similar
good.
thought to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good. I have a similar thought to you around like I will bet you $1 billion that the arch is on it somewhere.
yeah. Okay, 1 billion. Wow.
I will bet you $1 billion that the flag is on or that the arch is on there somewhere, either featured
Sure.
prominently or minimally. It'll be there.
Okay.
And then yeah, I would love the St. Louis does have a beautiful flag, and that's not just my opinion. There are like flag competitions that happen where across the world people will showcase. I know, yeah, will showcase like the art of flags, and they'll do like tournaments and stuff. And the St. Louis flag is frequently very highly rated, and I think recently
Wow.
won some like best flag in the
A flag
world
off?
competition. It was a flag off, baby. Um, so it's it's got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So we have
So
one.
it's got the red in it too. It's Cardinals already. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you could definitely see how they could incorporate the two rivers coming together sort of across the Cardinal logo in the front, something like there it says Cardinals with the two. I don't know, like
Yeah.
not a designer here, but seems pretty obvious that that's the path to go. You've got great design in the city already. Just utilize that. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. But I think that's what it will be, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited about it. We've
It
talked about doing this offseason a City Connect ranking
yeah.
episode, so maybe we should get working on that.
Man, yeah, that Cubs one, that stupid matte blue color is so bad. I just hope the Cardinals do something good because I would love to rock a Fleur de Lis Arenado jersey or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, a little more baseball-y type conversation. Ryan Thibodeau, who is just a gentleman, he's kind of like a blogger. I don't know. He's a Twitter presence, I guess, is the best way to phrase it. And what
Hmm.
he does is track Hall of Fame ballots. So if you make your ballot public, he kind of consolidates those. He puts it on this shared Google Doc that you can find via his Twitter. Again, his name is Ryan Thibodeau. If you don't know him, he's the Hall of Fame ballot tracker guy on Twitter and does a great job. And it's like he's basically perfected it at this point. Um, why I'm bringing him up is because I took a look at his ballot tracker earlier this week, and we have only 30% of Hall of Fame ballots, but these usually are fairly predictive once we get to this number, once it's not a super small sample size. Scott Rowland is currently sitting at 80.7% to get into the Hall of Fame, which obviously it's above 75, so he would be in. And he has already gained 8 votes in the early going, which is showing great growth. It's by no means is a slam dunk yet, but we are trending actively towards getting another Cardinal. And I think you and I both agree a highly deserved Cardinal into the Hall of Fame finally after I don't even know how many years on the ballot, but very,
It's
very
something
excited
like
for that.
8. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
somewhere around. He's nearing the end of his opportunity. Um, And yeah, I'm very excited. Should have been first ballot. Shouldn't have been a question. One of the best third basemen of all time. By like every metric, he's in the top 10. And if that's
Yes.
not deserving of Hall of Fame, then, what are we even doing here? That's not even small hall or
Right.
like he should be there. And I think it's only because of the weird log jam that has happened for the last 10 years with Bonds and Clemens and all these guys that should have also been in on the first ballot and cleared up those votes for other guys. I think Edmonds is also a like he might not have gotten in anyway, but he's also a
Yeah.
casualty of all of this where there was just less votes to go around to other guys. And then on top of that, the idiocy of so many voters just in general, so you're already
These
fighting,
blank ballots, the
yeah,
blank ballots piss me off.
yeah. So, um, I'm very excited. It certainly seems like he's got a real path
Yeah.
now. And, um, yeah, he's going in with a Cardinal hat.
Oh yeah, I think
Gotta be right.
without a
Yeah.
doubt, yeah. Just the seasons that he put up. Obviously, he was a great Philly for a while, but I think the seasons and just like the historical significance of his Cardinal seasons make that all make sense. And I think those are the seasons that put him over the Hall of Fame marker. Also, since we've started talking, he is now at 80.8%. He has gained
Okay.
Point 0.1 of a percentage point. So even more likely. So yeah, that's really great. Also, Todd Helton trending really well, as is Gary Sheffield. So we'll see what happens there. Be an interesting Hall of Fame class. I think I would vote for Todd Helton, but I could be argued out of it. But
Yeah.
anyways, Scott Rowland, holy crap. Also, not only would it be great to have another Cardinal in the Hall of Fame, a deserved Cardinal, but also I'm a sucker for all the fanfare and all the
Yeah.
celebrations and the jackets and all that good stuff. So I hope that happens for many reasons.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I look forward to celebrating it as well. So what else do we want to talk about? I think we're now at just some of the broader hot stove stuff.
Yeah, we missed some of the stuff with all the Battlefield baseball conversation, so we need to get caught up on some of the things that happened. So I guess we'll talk about Sean Murphy. If you didn't see
Mm-hmm.
it, Sean Murphy, obviously the guy that we wanted the Cardinals to trade for, has now signed a 6-year extension with the Braves for $73 million.
Yeah. Whatever. We're all real impressed, Atlanta Braves.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
It's like they are going to be one of the best teams in baseball for the foreseeable future, and it's very impressive. I don't know. They like all they have to worry about now is finding pitching. And they don't even like need to worry about prospects. I feel like because they have so many positions locked up for such a long time.
Which, to be
Um,
fair, if there's one thing that they don't have right now is that their farm system is ranked very low. But that's
yeah,
also partly because they just graduated so many people,
right.
and that is their current big league team is their former very good prospect system.
Yeah,
So, um, most teams have that cycle where your farm system is good, but your major league team is bad, and vice versa. Only really the Dodgers and right now the Cardinals,
yeah,
have been able, and other teams for sure, but like they have one of the lowest ranked farm systems right now.
yeah.
So I guess, if maybe some of these guys don't actually end up progressing like you're expecting, they could run into some problems, but odds are this is going to be a really, really good lineup for
Yeah.
the next half decade at least.
One of the deals are going to look really bad. One of them, but it's
At
still
least
not going to
one
be
of
enough
them.
to do anything because they
Well,
are
but they're all so team friendly that it's not really going to look that bad.
right.
Like they didn't give anyone like $300 million. It'd be
Yeah,
like, oh no, Vaughn Grissom's 60 or whatever, like turned out that he was bad. It's like, okay,
yeah,
that's fine. In modern baseball, that's nothing. And also now that dude's out there generationally wealthy. So
yeah. I think
it's gonna
Austin
work out for
Riley's
everyone.
probably the only one that could maybe go wrong, and he looks like a perennial MVP candidate right now. So nothing
Yeah,
to
it
worry about.
seems super unlikely that that's gonna go wrong. He just keeps
Yeah.
getting better.
Yeah. Moving on, the Cubbies signed Drew Smiley, 2 years, 19 million. Somehow did not go in our free agent scraps big money draft, aka Faz Boomsum. But Cubbies, they're raising the floor. They are more dangerous than they were a week ago. They are getting better and better and better. I think they're not going to threaten the Cardinals at this point for NL Central contention, but they are going to beat the Cardinals at points. Like they are going to be a thorn in the side of the Cardinals. I think is where I would place them right now.
Yeah, I think these are all smart. They are. I think this is all about acquiring trade pieces to strengthen their rebuild.
Yeah,
Bellinger on a 1-year deal. They're not thinking, oh, we're going to win the NL Central because Bellinger's going to come back. They're thinking Bellinger's going to come back, and then we're going to trade him for two pieces that will, strengthen our
it,
rebuild. Same with Drew Smiley. All these little 1-year deals that they're doing. I think it's all about uh, qualifying offers and
yeah.
trade packages.
If he just repeats one for one his MVP season, where does that put the Cubs in the Central?
83 wins.
You think so? Okay. I wonder if
I
it would push him more than that.
I mean,
Um,
maybe if also Tyon is great and also Smiley is great and also they find a bunch of bullpen
Swanson's,
arms,
yeah,
like
yeah,
they just don't have enough of a support cast right now to
yeah,
where even if they do have some of these guys pop off, because I mean, don't get me wrong, they have some interesting pieces, and I guess there is a like 95th percentile outcome where they like all of them click and the Cubs win 90 games and
yeah.
also the Cardinals and Brewers collapse. Um, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I
don't think
don't see
anything
it.
like that's going to happen, but they're just becoming better and better and better, and the other teams are kind of just sitting still, which gives me
Yeah.
anxiety.
Well, they've got that Mervin guy for like. There's a couple prospects coming up. Morel could be good.
Yeah.
But my thought with that is they just still don't really have the pitching, and even if Tyon and Smiley are good, what's their
Strosho,
bullpen?
baby.
Yeah, Stroman. Even at best, it's like great. Our number 3 is locked in.
Right.
Like they need everything from the pitching standpoint to work out perfectly. And
Yeah.
playing in Wrigley, even if your pitching is perfect, you might give up 6 bombs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. They've still got some work to do, and so that's why I think these are all good signings. And I also just appreciate a team trying to field a competitive team, even when they
Yeah.
know they're not going to win. Like I do think it's all to go towards their rebuild, but it's way more fun as a fan to watch. It's way more of a competitive spirit, even if they do intend to tear it all apart in 3 months. Like it's still just a more fun
Yeah.
way for a team to go about a rebuild. And I'd like to see more teams do this than the just the like straight tank for years.
Fully agree. If you're a Cubs fan, you can say, hey, they're trying to do something here.
Yeah, it's
And they
interesting. They're
they
doing
got
something.
yeah, they've signed some interesting names. They signed their big name, which we think is probably a mistake, but we'll see what happens there with Dansby.
It was
Um,
yeah.
Speaking of teams getting better, the Pirates keep doing this where they I what are the Pirates doing? They're nutting. They're Bob nutting. They're saving all their cash. But they did give the oldest
They're
player in
nutting.
baseball. They did give the oldest player in baseball another chance to be himself, I guess. I don't know. Rich Hill, aka Dick Mountain, 1 year, $8 million to the Pirates. I think almost guaranteed to be traded halfway through the season, which means he'll be in a playoff race somewhere. But yeah, let's go, Rich Hill. He might be a Cardinal in 6 months or
Yeah,
4 or 5 months. Yeah,
I can't wait for Rich Hill to be. I mean, people were talking about Rich Hill last year as the
yeah,
Cardinals deadline acquisition. Good for him. Getting that check,
hell yeah,
making it, letting it ride. If someone's willing to pay him, why not?
yeah,
Go pitch for the Pirates.
hell yeah. All right. Before we get into the update of our little draft game, bad news for everyone. Trevor Bauer's suspension reduced to 194 games. Bauer has been reinstated in baseball. It's effective immediately. The neutral arbitrator selected by the MLB and the MLB Players Association affirmed that Trevor Bauer violated Major League Baseball's joint domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy. So I think the first thing I want to say about this is that Trevor Bauer's suspension is over, but the arbiter and the MLB and MLB Players Association all agree that he violated the abuse or the domestic violence policy that is in place. So I think I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. He did it. Um, they reduced the original suspension because of essentially precedent setting. And I do think that this is, in the long run, good news because that means that the next suspension can likely be longer than 194 games or whatever. It's all
Yeah.
circumstantial and depends on what happens. Um, so I think we're all aligned on Trevor Bauer and his status in baseball and with fans and everything like that. The real question is, does he sign with a team in Major League Baseball?
Yeah. I certainly hope not. Um, I think he should be done. I think, as you said, like, he's reinstated. He has done the punishment that the league has handed down. Um, but I don't. It sure seems like no one wants to play with him because even before all this, it seemed like he was obnoxious to play with, and so now you've got this on top. I certainly hope no one does. That said, if I can be, um, I think unfortunately the reality is that probably a team is going to sign him. They're going to say he served his time. We want to win, and he's a former Cy Young player, winner, and
Yeah.
he'll probably get to pitch again. And I think what'll happen is what usually happens in these situations, because this is not the first, is that the fan base will get really mad. And then if he does really well, the fan base will be like, we sure hate him, but boy, it's good to have him on the mound. And then if he's shit, they'll be like, I told you we never should have signed him. And, and they'll all wash their hands of it. Jose Reyes with the Mets, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, Aroldis Chapman is a great example.
Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah. I know. I wonder, the only thing that's interesting or that adds to the weird thing or my lack of being able to predict what's going to happen with Trevor Bauer is that how to phrase this? Like I think it would be unreasonable to assume that Trevor Bauer is going to now all of a sudden stop being Trevor Bauer. And by that, I mean, I hope to God he's done doing the domestic abuse that he's been a part of to earn the suspension. But he's still going to be the guy who he is. And by that, I mean like an asshole online in general to the people. Like, I will never forget when Terry Francona went to take him out of a game in Kansas City and he threw the ball into the outfield. Like, for you and I, that's just pure entertainment. I was happy to watch that little meltdown on the field. But if you're a teammate of his, or if you're the manager, or if you're the GM, do you really want to do, like, he is who he presents himself as, right? Like, what organization wants to hitch their wagon to the Trevor Bauer star at this point, irrelevant of the performance? Like, I think you would be foolish to think that he is, I don't know, found
like
some sense of peace or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Because him and a bunch of ding dongs out there feel that he's been now like vindicated because the suspension was reduced, even though it actually affirms what he did. And so it's going to be like some shitty vengeance tour. It's going to be the Tommy Pham vengeance tour, but
at least Tommy Pham is charming.
Yeah, and at least Tommy Pham, it's about like fantasy football and shit. But that's why I hope no one signs him, and I don't think it would be a good idea for anyone to sign him, for a lot of reasons, on and off the field. But just the way these things go, I'm usually the optimist, but and just the way these things typically work is that someone will sign him, and then if he's good again, they'll hand wave away everything and say, we wanted to win. I was talking about this in the Birds Court. I think the Mets are going to sign him because Steve Cohen also should be in prison. So, they can
talk about that. Yeah.
They can do that whole thing. And Steve Cohen can say, hey, I told you I wanted to win and I'm willing to do anything that's necessary.
Yeah.
As he like probably steps across the skulls of multiple children to get to the press box or, whatever it is. So anyway, we're
the more I learn about Steve Cohen, the more I'm like, did you buy this baseball team so that you could make yourself have friends and make people like you and have Twitter followers? It's so weird.
We're going to find out. Somehow it's a money laundering operation,
he's cleaning money with the Mets. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. All right, let's get away from that. Let's talk about something more fun. Again, here's the update on the free agent scraps big money draft. So to remind you all, Nate and I each drafted 6 players that had not signed yet. Remaining free agents, and whoever has the most guaranteed money by spring training wins. And there's been a lot of action since this has happened. So I'm just going to quickly run down the Nate signings. Nate has the Phillies signed Craig Kimbrell, 1 year, $10 million. Savvy pick. Giants signed Taylor Rogers, 3 years, $33 million. I think that's
a big one. That's a
value
pick one
right
for
there.
me.
Yeah. A reliever getting 3 years is pretty wild. And then you also had the Marlins sign Gene Segura for 2 years, $17 million. That's actually a little lighter than I expected it to be, but probably a good deal for the Marlins. And that
I was
brings
really looking for a little bit more from the Kimbrel. I was thinking 1 year, 15 to 18.
Yeah.
And then Segura, I was thinking maybe 25, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Nate's total, 3 players signed. He's still got 3 more to go, $60 million. And Nate still has Profar, Waka, and Mancini. And I would not be surprised if Profar and Waka command some more money than maybe most people might think, or I don't know. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Going down to my team, I only got 2 guys drafted currently. The Rangers signed Nathan Eovaldi for 2 years, $34 million. We'll take that all day. Add some ketchup to it. All day. And the Giants, what a weird offseason the Giants are having. The Giants signed Michael Conforto, 2 years, $36 million, which
cannot believe it.
Is like twice as much as what I thought he would sign for. But here we go. So that my total is 70 million. Nate's current total is 60 million, but we still have most of the players have not been signed. So lots to change, lots to happen. God, a lot to happen. And the more I think about it, the more I think Brian Anderson might get a minor league invite, not a real deal. So still an even match. But I'm in the lead right now. Any thoughts on any of those signings that are particularly interesting to you?
Well, Eovaldi was the first overall pick in this little game we played.
Yeah.
And so him getting a pretty good contract, it was not surprising. The Conforto deal is right now the game changer as far as the standings go. I think you're a heavy favorite at this point. You only have 2 people out of your 6 selected, and you're at 70 million. I have 3. And though my first overall pick, which was Profar, has not been selected, but still, like, I think you're a favorite. I think the Conforto deal is bullshit.
It is crazy.
I cannot believe that he got that much money. I was looking for a little bit more from Kimbrel and Segura, as I said, but not bad deals. Like, and I obviously the Taylor Rogers deal is more than we were expecting. So
for sure,
there's some balance there, but I can't believe that Conforto, after missing 2 years, basically got 18 average. It's wild. He must look real good in camp.
Yeah. I think only thing I'll add is, I wanted the Cardinals to go after Taylor Rogers. I don't think I would have been happy if the Cardinals did 3 years, $33 million for Taylor Rogers. He had an up and down last year. I like his peripherals. He's got a great velo and lefty, and got some good stuff. But throwing $33 million at a reliever is a little spooky to me. I do like that he's going to be playing with his brother. So that'll be fun all next couple of summers. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is just how the Rangers have kind of gone about their offseason. We kind of make fun of the Cardinals for wishing for the best possible outcome, but the Rangers have turned this into a way to build a team by their rotation. Their rotation. Who do we got? We got Eovaldi, of course, Jacob deGrom,
Odorizzi.
I'm forgetting somebody else. And Heaney. Those are the 3 that I'm thinking of. High variability. There is a chance that Eovaldi, deGrom, and Heaney total for 35 innings this year, or they're one of the more solid 1, 2, 3s in Major League Baseball. So I don't know. Good for them. I like the high variability play. They kind of have to be competitive in their division, and I say good for them. Let's see what I'll be excited to see, or watch Rangers games this year, which is something I haven't been able to say for a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Not since the 2011 era.
Beltre.
Back-to-back World Series trips for the Rangers.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited for them. I hope we get some good outcomes. I appreciate the way they've been going about their rebuild. Just buy a whole new rotation. Sure, why not? And with last year with Seager and Simeon, they've Adalis is crushing it down there. They're a fun team, and it could click, and they could, maybe they make a run at the Astros. I don't know. With DeGrom,
it'd be so great
if they can get in the playoffs. It could work.
That's really what it comes down to. If DeGrom is one of the few players in baseball that if you make it to the playoffs, he changes everything. He might be the only player in baseball. I'm sure there's somebody else I'm thinking of.
You get into the 3-game set with him, just have him pitch all 3.
Yeah.
Like, who are we kidding?
That's
right?
worth the contract. One
Yeah.
deep playoff run. Yeah, that's all you really need.
Yeah. So come on, Bob Gibson would have done it.
There we go.
All right. Well, let's wrap up this episode. We're gonna play a little game here. This is a classic. It's a standard. We all know and love it. Ben has struggled a little bit lately at it. We'll see how he does. We're returning to our favorite. Who is this guy?
Okay.
Okay. So
I don't even remember who handed me my ass the last time. It was.
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah. It was bad though. I felt bad about myself. It was bad.
You should have gotten it. You've gotten it wrong two games in a row. The last one was Skip Schumacher.
Oh, that one pissed me off. Yeah.
Who we had talked about earlier in the episode.
Yeah, at length.
And then before that, this one's a little more understandable. Royce Clayton.
Yeah. Yeah, that one I didn't feel so bad about. But the Skip one really hurt.
Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar, I have a series of clues about someone who played for the St. Louis Cardinals at the major league level. That it's always going to be someone who played for the Cardinals. Now, for how long? It doesn't matter. As long as they wore the uniform for at least one game.
Yeah.
And the clues start incredibly vague and get increasingly more specific. Ben makes a guess after every clue. And we see how long it takes to get it.
If this is your first time listening, I'm a very bad loser. And I think that's why Nate likes to play these games. So here we are.
Yep. I'm
a bad loser, but maybe a worse winner. I'm not sure. It's all pretty bad.
And I'm a real jigsaw, I'm twisted.
Oh my God.
Tequila. All right.
I hate that I actually laughed at that one.
Yes. All right. This player, here's your clue number 1, was born on May 21st, 1986 in Goose Creek, South Carolina.
Okay.
Goose Creek. All right.
Goose Creek, South Carolina. He was born in 86.
Correct.
Okay. So he is like 37, 38, somewhere around there. Goose Creek, Carolina. Played for the Cardinals. I'm trying to think of who is. I mean, I want to say Corey Dickerson because I'm 99% sure he is from one of the Carolinas. I don't know if he's that old though. I think he's probably like closer to 33 or 34. He's like my age, but this person is older. Goose Creek, Kakalaki. Not a baseball hotbed. That should help me whittle it down, but I'm not. No one's coming to mind. I'm just going to take the guess, and I'll just say Corey Dickerson, just because I think he's from Carolina.
Incorrect. All right.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he even from Carolina?
Incorrect. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's find out together.
Wow. He kind of has the. Damn it. Okay, I was mixing up my southern accents. Okay. Anyways.
Yep. All right. This player had a 12-year career that saw him play, and not in any specific order, the Nationals, the Orioles, and the Cardinals.
Not in any specific order. Nationals and Orioles and Cardinals.
That may be the order in which his career progressed. It also may not be. I randomized the order.
There's been a lot of crossover Nationals and Cardinals. There has not been a lot of crossover Cardinals and Orioles. So that is what I'm going to drill down onto. Who is a 38-year-old who has played on the Cardinals and the Orioles? Need to think about this one for a minute. I'm a casual Orioles fan. So I feel like that might help me some way, but I'm just gonna.
He's what they are 1/3 of talking about birds.
They are. They
got
didn't really get a lot of talk this year, but maybe they deserve a little bit more. No one is coming to mind. I'm guessing this player is not super good if they've played for those teams.
Rough
Yeah,
takedown of the 2019 World Series champions, Washington Nationals.
Yeah, they kind of they had one really good season. That was about it.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, Nationals, Orioles. Oh man, I got nobody. I'm just gonna take a guess with. Oh God, I hate this. Damn it, I don't know. I don't have any right answers, so I'm just gonna say Matt Bowman.
Nope, incorrect. All right, interesting guess though. All right, number 3. A defensive specialist early in his career, winning 2 Gold Gloves. His bat never came around like most thought it would.
A defensive specialist. That is not helpful. I mean, I'm sure it is if you know. I don't know.
Won 2 Gold Gloves.
Yeah. I got nothing. This is not correct because he's not from America, but I'm going to say Ronnie Belliard.
No. All right. So after the first 3, the clues start to get a little bit more specific because you often get it in the first 3. So
yeah.
You haven't recently though, but I also have been trying to pick more like obscure guys. So
yeah, I'm gonna guess. I have a feeling I'm not going to know this person just based on the three things that you've said.
You will. You're probably going to know it after this. We'll see. Many thought he would be the next great catcher after the Orioles selected him 5th overall in the 2007 draft.
Yeah, Matt Wieters.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Matt Wieters. I guess I don't remember him playing for the Nationals. But
yeah, that's where he went after the Cardinals.
I should have just focused on the thing that I knew.
Wait. Now do I have that right? I randomized it, so I forget what
order
it was
Baltimore,
he went.
Washington, and then
then the Cardinals.
So yeah, he had 2 seasons with the Nationals.
That's right.
Yeah, 100% forgot about that. But yeah, Matt Wieters. I liked Matt Wieters. He was fine.
Yeah, he did the job.
He did the job.
My last vote was, or my last clue was, as a member of the Cardinals in 2019 and 2020, he joined a unique and surprisingly large brotherhood of Cardinal players named Matt.
There you go.
Yeah. So
I also
you guessed Matt Bowman, so I was like, you're close.
That was just a guess. Yeah, that was just hip. I also I think did not realize that he won Gold Gloves at any point.
Yeah,
I kind of thought I kind of just remember him being kind of not a miss, but just like a fine player, never really a good player. But yeah, no, he had some pretty solid defensive seasons right when he came up and then got old quickly, as catchers
2011 and 2012, he won the AL Gold Glove for catcher.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
He got 21, or he got 1% of the 2012 AL MVP voting as well.
Wow. What a monster season he had that year.
Yep.
Hit 249.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for being here. We're getting closer. We're getting closer to the to pitchers and catchers reporting, the most anticlimactic of all baseball milestones, but it's something we are looking forward to. Stay warm out there. We'll be back next week, as always, with another episode. And until next week, tequila.
Extend Tommy Edmond.
I'm going to wear this joke out. Like,
yeah,
super fast.
Oh, it's got legs, bro. It's got legs.
Talking about